Hello, this is Vamsi Krishna and this is One Man Art Channel. Today we are going to look and change something like this into something like this. See, we should have so much control in the Photoshop to make it change like this thing. So I'll show you how it is made. Like this thing is added, and after that reflection is added, and after that occlusion is added to make the depth come out, and after that we use some plugins and changed we use this camera raw filter to change it something into something like this. Okay, how to take these things like this thing and this thing, this thing, and this thing, like it's a light. We took the light and changed it into this. That's it. How to take this and import into Photoshop. These are called passes. So in Maya, go to Maya, and by the way, I added the photo here and just move the mat and added a material to this as well, so it looked like marble. I selected all these faces and added a material, Vray material, and I added a texture to it, this thing, and I repeat UVs 4 and 4, mirror UV, mirror view, and mirror V. Okay, and for this thing, and by the way, I forgot, and I added a little bit of reflection to it, this thing, yeah, this much, and reflection glossiness as well, this much is nice. And don't turn off use Fresnel, it should be turned on because it's a marble. And for this thing, the frame is just the same material as this one, and this thing is separate Vray material, so another Vray material. I added a texture, which is the painting I painted in Photoshop, and I gave it a little bit of reflection like this thing, and that's it. I turned off the use Fresnel. Yeah, that's it. And what we should do to take the render passes, go into render settings, and in here there is render elements, right? These are the passes I added. First, you don't have these. Let me just remove all these first. So in the Maya, if it is reflective surface, and these are the reflective surfaces, and if you add that pass, reflective pass to it, here you can see reflection, right? If you add this, then it will only take the reflections in this scene. Okay, so we can have control in Photoshop, so we can adjust it afterwards. So I added a reflection, and I'll add a denoise, so maybe some noise will be there, so I added a denoise. And you can take even GI as well, but I'm not taking it. You can take lights like this, just add the light here and go into outliner. You can see at the bottom here, Vray light select. If you want to add direct light to it, select on it and press middle mouse button and drag it into the light select here. So the plus will be added in here the direct light will be added. And let's change the name so we won't be confused. Direct light, and I'll add another light select, and I'll take this thing, Vray rect 36. Vray light select 1 here, and let's change its name to window light. Yeah, that's it. And if you want, if there is a refraction to it, you can add refraction pass as well. And there is a z-depth map, and I'll tell you what it will do. So I'll add this one. And there is one other pass we should take, but it is not in here. So let's just say these are the render passes we want. And by the way, I kept sample type in Vray, sample type to bucket, and minimum subdues 1 and maximum subdues 128, and threshold 0.200. GI just the same. I turned off the refraction past 6, subdues 1000, sampling size 0.10. Yeah, that's it. And renderable camera 1, and it's 1080 HDP, 1920 by 1080. So that's it. Yeah, that's it. Vray show Vray and frame buffer. And now let's take the render. It is taking in perspective camera, so let's stop this and go in here. Click on it. So we show and file. Go to render and press camera 1. Frame buffer will render with this camera. It will take some time, so I'm going to skip it. When the render is done, I'll get back to you again. Render is almost done. Yeah, only this corner is left. As you can see, there is a little bit of noise here, but that won't be a problem. Just wait some time. The denoise is calculating. After the render is done, I'll show you what the denoise will do. Most of the time you have to wait for the render. It should be done, right? It's kind of relaxing. Yeah, render is done. So I'll show you what denoise will do. Here you can see, right? The noise is gone. The noise is gone. These are the render process we took right now. So let's say file, save image channels to separate files, not single file, separate files. Click on it, and I already took passes here. So let's just delete this, or just make another one. Shit. Interior, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And I'm keeping it in JPEG, interior, and save. So all the passes will be saved as interior on front, in front of its name. Let's delete this one. Don't want to save that. And let's stop interior now. So let's go into Photoshop, and here you can see that this is the direct light. You can see, right? This is the window light. You can see only light that is present is this window light in this scene, and direct light is only present in this scene. So the total, all the effects are kept on this one, this image, and the default image is this. So see the noise here. It is done by the denoise, and the result will be like this. So let's take this thing, affected result on. Yeah, let's keep it like this, and Control J to duplicate. Don't work on the background layer, just copy. Control J to duplicate the same layer. And the one thing we need, we didn't do, is another pass we need, right? So before you do anything, first save it. File, save scene. It's saved. So what you should do is delete all the lights in this scene first. Shift select, click on the top one and go down, and shift click on the last one. So all the middle lights will be selected. Just delete that. Press delete on the keyboard, right? Delete, delete, all these things. Delete. But now only thing is left is this thing. Excuse me. Only the objects are left. So select all the objects and assign new material. Just OCC, the AI ambient occlusion. AI ambient occlusion is the Arnold shader. So if you assign this thing to the objects, you should render it in Arnold. So let's change it to Arnold. Yeah, and renderable camera to camera on, right? Yeah, click on this thing and fall off. Let's just say 1 and take render. Let's see what happens. You don't have to change any settings for this thing. Just applying the ambient occlusion shader and changing the fall off to 1 and just take the render. That's it. And while doing this, there shouldn't be any light in this scene. Just be aware of that. All the objects should be present and the light shouldn't be there. It's taking quite some time. It's quite relaxing though. We can take some rest, lay back. Yep, the render is done. Now go to File, Save Image, and go into Interior, like desktop, right? Interior, and save it as JPEG. Here, let's keep JPEG and OCC. That's it, save. And now close it. Now you can get out of Maya to make changes in Photoshop. Now, what will ZDepth do, right? That's what this is. ZDepth, you can see it is like this. You can see, right? Yeah, let's bring it into Photoshop now. No, just delete this one first. Make it as a new composition like this. Now press Ctrl A to select this thing and Ctrl C to copy the selection, and go in here, and in here go to channels and add a channel, the new one, and press Ctrl V. So in new channel there will be this thing. Ctrl D to deselect the selection, and you can change the name to depth, DEPTH, depth. Yeah, that's it. And turn off this. First turn off all these and turn off this thing. Go to layers. Now go to filters and blur, Gaussian blur. No, not Gaussian blur. Just take lens blur. And in source, just click on depth. That's the layer you place in the channels, right? Click on that. And you can click anywhere to focus there, right? You can see it's blurring here. If we click on it, it's clear, but it is blurry. So I want to focus on this light, so I'll click in here and increase the radius to blur it even more. Yeah, play with this and you can understand what's happening. That's it. Don't use noise in here, so we don't want that. Okay, so blur is happening. You can see what's happening by turning on and off this thing. Yeah, and now what we need is direct light. Now first take the window light and drag it into this thing on top of this thing. Okay, right, and place it in overlay, maybe soft light. Yeah, lighten was nice. Nice. The noise is gone, but the light is still there. That's the light, and we can change it. Like just say go to blur, and now use Gaussian blur. Okay, so we can spread it. The light will be spread it. Yeah, here you can see the change without the blur, and with the blur you can see that the change is happening. Yep. Okay, press OK and you can see the change. Right, that's it. And let's add some, click in here and add hue saturation and click on this thing, so it will only affect the layer down below. Only this layer will be affected with this, and change its color to something like red, or maybe saturation. No, just this thing is nice. I just leave it like that. Yeah, leave it like that. And now time for the direct light. Add this thing and the same thing, keep it in lighten, and add a blur to it as well. Right, filter blur, Gaussian blur. This is subtle amount is nice. 4 is nice. Preview off and on to see what's happening. This is nice. And I'll add hue saturation for this as well. Change it to something like orange, or maybe just click on this thing. If you forgot this thing, the whole photo is affected. Click on this, only the layer down below is affecting, right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And now, yeah, the most of the things are done. Now it's time for occlusion. It's not refreshed, so that's why it is not there before. Now it's time for occlusion. Drag on this thing. Yeah. Now keep it in multiply. So you can see what's happening. The depth came. Before that, it's looking kind of flat. See, everywhere there's nothing. If we added this, the depth came to this thing. And now for the final part, we have to combine all these layers down below to make it something like one layer. By selecting the top layer, Control Alt Shift and E. Control Alt Shift E, so that it will combine all the layers and make new layer. This thing, the same. It's the same layer. See, it has all the effects on it, and combine. And now time for some filters and camera filter. This is a nice plugin for the Photoshop, which will come in default. Basic, and I'll add a temperature. Kind of a good feel to it. Exposure a little bit, and contrast a little bit. Let's decrease some exposure. It's kind of burning the layer. It's kind of burning here. Highlights a little bit, just a little bit. Shadows, decrease the shadows so the contrast will increase. Texture clarity, I'm increasing it, and clarity as well, just a little bit. Rehaze, you can see what's happening here. Just a little bit is nice. Maybe decreasing it would be nice. Yeah. I'll add a little bit of vibrance. The basic part is over. I don't use these curves. Let's sharpen it a bit. Reduce the noise. And the color mixing, I don't use this. Color grading, I'll use this one. It's a mid tones. You can see right in here. It's shadows. I'll change it to kind of blue. And highlights, kind of orange-ish highlights. It's my own thing. You can do whatever you want. Blending it, balance. I'll decrease the balance a bit. Just play with. I don't know any rules of it. Just playing with it is kind of. I'll distort this image a bit, so we'll give a little bit of feel to it, and add vintage. You know vintage, right? I'll add black vintage. And in effects, I'll add a little bit of grain, like 10, or maybe you add a good feel to it. Like dots will be there. And now a little bit of vintage in this one as well. Effects. Yeah, that's it. The basic part. That's it. Yeah, you can see the change, right? Control T. And resize it. The distortion is there, right? So that's why we should make it a little bit bigger so the distortion won't be visible. If you feel that any of the effect is in here, the effect is a little bit higher or something, you don't want this much of depth, then you can click on this and adjust the opacity of it, like this thing. Like you can have how much of amount you want. Like if you want 70%, you can keep it 100%. This is the flexibility of the passes, right? Take how much of this thing you want and do whatever you want. And the blur thing you did in the channels here, this is the depth pass. It is not necessary for all the scenes, but some scenes you have so much of distance. Like if you have a car here and there is a mountain in the distant background, and the mountain should be blurred out. If you focus on the car, the mountain should be blurred. So in those kind of scenes, the depth pass is necessary. So yeah, that's it for today's lesson, and this is the final lesson of this playlist. Thank you for watching. Bye.